Good morning and welcome, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this conference about making the future of work inclusive for persons with disabilities. My name is Yves Veulliet. I am the global leader of disability inclusion with IBM, and I'm also very honored to be the chairman of the ILO Global Business and Disability Network for 2019. I'm also very happy to introduce the next chair of 2020, Pilar Rojas, who is the senior leader of corporate culture with Repsol. And so without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Deborah Greenfield, the Deputy Director General of the ILO. Deborah.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, colleagues, distinguished guests. Welcome to the ILO. I'm delighted that we're hosting this important conference in our centenary year, during which we're not only focused on our achievements in the world of work in the last 100 years, but also the work that we urgently need to do to create the future of work that we want. Now, the more than 300 participants and more than 70 speakers from all over the world at this conference are a clear testament to both the relevance and the importance of this topic. The conference has also generated a lot of attention within the ILO, and many of our colleagues will attend some of the sessions today and tomorrow. The 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, through its commitment to leave no one behind, and its many references to persons with disabilities, provides a strong framework for ensuring disability inclusion in workplaces throughout the world. We all know that we need to accelerate progress because so many persons with disabilities remain excluded from the labor market. And a conference like this is a powerful platform to raise the visibility of a group that continues to face barriers to participation. And I encourage you to keep this in mind throughout your discussions. The theme of this conference is particularly relevant because it aims to contribute to a more inclusive debate on the future of work. If the discussions on the emerging trends in the world of work continue to exclude the perspectives of persons with disabilities, as expressed by those persons themselves, then quite simply the future of work itself will fail to become inclusive. The conference agenda focuses on key issues and has gathered an exceptional group of experts, and I'm particularly impressed by the panel that will follow this opening session. And so in this regard, I want to extend special thanks on behalf of the ILO to the representatives of the World Bank, the European Commission, the OECD, the IOE, the World Economic Forum, Social Group Once, and to my colleagues throughout the House, but in particular to Damien Grimshaw and to Deborah France-Massin. I also welcome this session on the role of the public sector as an employer. And in particular, I welcome the presence today of the Deputy Minister on Public Accessibility of Canada, Yasmine Laroche, and from my own birthplace, the New York City Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, Victor Calise. There's much that the private and public sectors can learn from each other, and the ILO stands ready to facilitate more of that kind of dialogue. I'm also looking forward to the campaign that you'll launch this afternoon. Persistent stigma and stereotypes faced by persons with disabilities often constitute one of the largest barriers for persons with disabilities to overcome in order to obtain decent work. Not just work, but decent work. These views affect persons with disabilities in all areas of life, and they have a particularly negative impact on their employment, often resulting in their unacceptably low levels of participation in the market. This conference also comes at a moment of increased attention to the rights of persons with disabilities. I've already mentioned the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is another obvious key for change. And I'd like to provide just a few examples to illustrate the increased participation that we see on the constellation of issues that face persons with disabilities in the world of work. Last year, during Argentina's presidency of the G20, I was lucky enough to participate in discussions that led to the adoption by the labor and employment ministers of a resolution that provides clear guidance to G20 countries on how to create a more inclusive environment for persons with disabilities. And I'm very pleased that the discussion was based on a paper that the ILO prepared in close collaboration with the OECD. This year's meeting of the World Economic Forum saw unprecedented attention to persons with disabilities and led to the launch of the Valuable 500 campaign. Its founder, Carolyn Casey, is here with us today. Now, here within the ILO, we are stepping up our own work on disability inclusion, and that includes getting our own house in order. The ILO played a leading role in the development of the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy that was adopted in May of this year. This strategy is really a game changer for promoting disability inclusion in the work of the UN and its specialized agencies, its funds, and its programs. And as I said, we're now working to implement within the ILO the recommendations of the inclusion strategy. And we will also have ways of measuring our own progress. Finally, in June this year, the International Labor Conference, our centenary conference, adopted a convention on violence and harassment in the world of work. This is crucial for disability inclusion efforts, as persons with disabilities, and in particular, women with disabilities, are more likely to face violence and harassment at work compared to their peers. The wide support provided to the provisions of this convention will ensure that all initiatives by governments, employers, trade unions, and others will need to be accessible to persons with disabilities. Let me finish by welcoming the action-oriented focus of this conference and the expected outcome of identifying key elements for a roadmap on disability inclusion for the future of work. I'm confident that with so many experts, such a wide range of topics, and in particular the presence of so many key players in the realm of disability inclusion, that this conference will lead to specific and impactful action on the part of all stakeholders. I wish you all the best and look forward to the outcomes of this conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. And I will echo what you just said about the need for actions in this space. Before we give the floor to the next session, I wanted to share with you a couple of thoughts that I have based on my experience as being the chairman of this network this year. You know, when we were preparing this conference and other activities, we had a lot of conversations with the member of the steering committee and some other participants and members of the network at large about what it means to be an inclusive employers and make sure that everybody has equal opportunity for jobs and career in general. And so people, you know, depending on their respective sector of activities or the region where they live, people would comment and say that the biggest challenge is access to education, or access to jobs in general. Others will say that if we want to be competitive in the marketplace, We need to have governments that take appropriate actions to make their society accessible, etc. Others, more IT-oriented, will say that there is a major risk of leveraging AI when it comes to recruitment of, when you run hiring campaigns using only AI, there is a risk that people with disabilities will be excluded from participating in these campaigns or being identified as potential candidates to get a job. And, I think that all these comments, all these questions, all these issues are absolutely valid. And I would like to avoid creating a graduation among all these issues. All these issues must be addressed all together. I believe that, it's really up to us to really make a difference. And I would like to finish this, to conclude my short speech here, by quoting Robert Swan, who is a British historian, who said, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." And I believe this is also true in the disability inclusion space. If we do not work together to make sure that people with disabilities get a seat at the global table, public sector, private sector, NGOs, governments, we will surely lose the battle. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. Just a bit word to welcome you all. It is a real pleasure to see so many participants. This year, we were remembering right now the beginnings of the Global Business and Disability Network. I think this is another of the many achievements of this 100-year organization. So thank you all for being here. During this two-day event, we have a great opportunity to look into the future of work and hold a debate on how it should look like. Nothing is defined yet. So we have the opportunity to think about it. All of us, institutions, organizations, and global companies, we have a shared responsibility in creating a more inclusive workplace for diverse talent in general and for people with disabilities to thrive in this workplace. Identifying and removing barriers whenever we find them. And it is not only a matter of social responsibility. We know that it is possible to do well in business and achieve great financial results and also do good for society and leave no one behind. In fact, I believe that is the only sustainable way to do business. Again, it is my pleasure to welcome you all, and I encourage you to fully participate in the different sessions, to take the opportunity to network, to share your experiences and findings with the other participants, and have a debate about the future of work and create it. Thank you.